Hey guys, today we're on the patch 7.0 update for Space Marine 2 to rant about the current state of the game and just how much of a slog some of this can actually be, because right now the launch of patch 7 is pretty much broken for like half the player base. The matchmaking is a bust. It is terrible. It is the worst it has ever been in this game, which is insane to say because on launch the matchmaking in Space Marine 2 was already abysmal, but this is actually so bad, especially for PC players, that there's like a red connectivity bar like the entire game for a lot of players or in a lot of your games, even if you do happen to find people, and that's no guarantee because I had hours of gameplay where despite quick matching, despite wanting to get that bonus XP more than ever on Absolute to level up my prestige, I just can't find anybody. I just hit the button, and like these days I can find some people today, but even then the match is just full of desync. And if you're like an average player or like a lower level player with a trying to prestige your class, and a lot of players aren't that bad, like prestiging on Absolute for most of the player base that's like currently playing Absolute is pretty easy, even if you just like have a bunch of level 8s in your game, but they're dying due to desync, and it's just a slog. And speaking of slog, it's already a slog to go through and level up your prestige because these perks are cool. A lot of these are really, really good, but there just isn't enough content and there aren't enough viable builds, or at least viable builds early enough into a class to actually justify like having fun with it. It's just a slog of you get like gaining XP endlessly, and it's not very fun. And I'll say, like, the first time you prestige, that first match where you were level 1 and you were just going through grabbing the gene seed, it is like the most boring match of your entire life. And there's really no other way to put it. It's just boring as fuck. And like, this isn't like Space Marine, excuse me, this isn't like Call of Duty, where the prestige in Call of Duty, you can try out new guns, there's always something to unlock. This game doesn't have enough content to justify the prestige ranks the way they are right now, especially with taking away your perks, because this isn't like a PvP game. Well, it is, but this isn't like a PvP game in Call of Duty where you can just go through and have fun with like all new stuff. This game is like, okay, you're playing Assault, you need some of these perks to have fun, especially when some of the best perks and most important perks are at the bottom of your skill tree. Like, this is true for Assault, this is true for Sniper, where Sniper doesn't even get its equipment recharge until you are level 25. So during your entire prestige journey for Sniper, you are never going to get your equipment recharge again or your squad renewal, because usually you will be level 20 and then you'll get 25 in the match you were level 20. So you will never get to use this squad renewal team perk if you're playing on Absolute. So you were just sitting there, like, grinding through, never getting to actually play a proper build for what comes out to be like 10 hours of gameplay if you're playing on Absolute and like winning every match, which really isn't that hard for a lot of this player base anymore. So like, you're stuck with a duct tape build, and really what this comes out to be is you just playing the same class you were playing 2 days ago, but it's less fun now, and you're just grinding out perks to win more and the thing you're already winning on at like level 8. So for a lot of players, especially casual players, they're not prestiging, and I see this in my games. Like, there are just level 25s that have no prestige because they just don't want to reset, and like, I really can't blame them because the game isn't hard enough to justify non-challenge run players or like people that aren't increasing their spawns manually with mods to get some of these perks. And like, it's really just busy work, and I think that's fine in the game. I think it's good to have grind, but for like the incentive to grind here, it's just not good enough for a lot of people. And on the note of rewards, the rewards for you having prestige are also horrific. Like, these cosmetic rewards, these are some of the laziest shoulders I've ever seen. Like, this is what you get for prestige level 3. Like, you get a little medallion. This is the exact same shoulder piece as this. They just added a little model at the bottom. This is awful, and there are some better ones than this. Like, I don't want to just like misrepresent what this actually is, because you can get some other ones like the Assault. If we go into that real quick, you'll see that he has his jump pack that I have unlocked here, which is like the little Tyranid skull. So that's kind of cool, but more of this would be nice, and even this is pretty lame. But like, these things are worse than what mod authors have come up with. Like, if you look at the Astartes overhaul, they've made whole ass Terminator armor, like an entirely new model, for free for people that they are going to be releasing. And it is nice that they did update how you can mod this game, but the fact that mod authors are coming out with better armor and heraldry options than the official release of the champion pack, because like this is the Space Wolf champion right now. And if you look at like their successor chapters, which like this isn't really their fault, because Space Wolves, if you don't know, in lore they couldn't have successor chapters until like Primaris Marines for the most part, because they would all just turn into like giant fuck off werewolves, and that's just an unfortunate event of like their fucked up gene seed. So that's why all these guys pretty much look the same, because it's like less so direct successor chapters. They were called something else. I don't remember the name exactly right now, but the point is that's why like they're all in gray, because like they don't really have the same differences as like the other Ultramarines and stuff. So that's not really their fault; it's just a lore issue. But the point is that these cosmetic upgrades, they aren't looking too great for doing your prestige. And like prestige, if you ask me, prestiging your class should give you like the coolest cosmetics ever, because that's what other games did. If you played Halo Reach back in the day and you saw somebody who had like 4,000 hours in the game and they had the flaming blue helmet, you're like, okay, that guy's gonna fuck me up, or that guy's really good at this game. In this game, all you see is like, oh man, like what are you gonna be in your game? Be like, wow, look at this guy's jetpack. He has the Tyranid skull. He must be pretty good as Assault. No one's gonna see this. And like players want to show off their accomplishments in games. I don't think that's really toxic for a game at all. And like this is just not that. This ain't it. That's all I can really say about that. Now, I did have some other horrific bugs in this game where characters were like floating around. I've seen players, I had to drop out of an entire Fall of Atreus match. I don't know if I actually mentioned this at all recently, but I had to drop out of an entire Fall of Atreus match because I was just floating around, and it was an awful game. So like the state of the game right now is just unacceptable, and being in like in a red bar for like 90% of your match when you quick match, like assuming you do actually get into a game, which is easier today than it was yesterday, you're going to be sitting there with like a red bar, at least on PC, and have desync the entire time, and it's going to be the most boring match of your entire life. And that's really what I can say, is that like I'm having less fun actually playing the game. I'm having more fun with like the little dopamine release of like unlocking new shit. But like that's always going to be there, and that's going to run out pretty fast. And usually by the time I'm about to hit 4th prestige on a class, I am so tired of playing that class, because you're stuck playing the same shit over and over and over, because you're just leveling up down the same tree and the same options come up, and you go back through, and then you're like, okay, I have a functional build for one match, and now we prestige again. So nobody's prestiging, or I shouldn't say nobody's prestiging, but a lot of players aren't prestiging, and that's unfortunate. Like, you want to incentivize your players to actually play your game, not like hold back because they're afraid of losing their stuff for like 5 matches. I just don't think that's okay. And I really think the entire launch here is just unacceptable after having an entire public test server for a month. Like, the fact the test server ran better than the current server does right now, I know this is very negative, but like this is the worst launch of any patch they've ever put out for this game. And it's just ridiculous. If Fat Shark did this, like people give Fat Shark and Dark Tide shit for like having Havoc be broken for a little bit, or like having the Havoc matchmaking be poor, that might as well just be like the greatest techie in Cyberpunk all at once. The greatest netrunner of all time is running Fat Shark by comparison to whatever the hell this is, because this is the worst update this game has ever had in terms of like actual functionality. I think some of the stuff here is really cool. I think prestige points are pretty good, but having a public test server for a month already kind of took away the luster for a lot of PC players. And now the version of the game, like the game they're playing now, especially for the PC players, the game you're playing now is a test server, except you have less options. You have to grind back to get the stuff you're already playing with, and the game also works far worse. So that's just what I wanted to talk about today. And I just don't think this is like acceptable for a product. And I really care. I'll be honest, guys. I just don't care if Saber says like, "Oh, we know, we're sorry." Like, I don't really care if a corporation's sorry. I'll be honest. I care if individuals are sorry. I know that like a lot of these devs aren't like solely responsible for this, so I'm not like putting the blame on the individual developers here, because there could just be corporate overhead. But the main thing here is like having a hotfix not come out for like a day plus, and like having the connectivity be this bad, this like 24 hours in. It's just unacceptable. I don't know if there's any other way to put it. I don't really think that's a hot take, because you did pay like $70 to $100 for this game, and this game works worse now than it did last week. That's all I want to talk about. So if you like content like this, subscribe for more. Usually it's less negative, but sometimes the game just fucks up. That's just how it is. So take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.